let's get to work. I pulled this Ace van in and starting to take the fuel pump off of here. It says to take the intake manifold off, you have to loosen this line from the back so you can get the pump to clear, I guess, is why. Of course, I'm going to try doing it without that. Got to get this electrical connector off of here. Ugh. This runs the regulator built into the pump to control fuel pressure. There's a solenoid on there, duty cycles. Jeez Louise. I might have to take this bracket off. I think it's pulling on the harness, keeping me from lifting it up more. And then it's the 17 or so. That's the high pressure line, so it's metal. The other lines are soft because they're lower, the 75 or so PSI. 8 millimeters on that bracket. Look at that thing. I think that's for crash protection or something like that. So it doesn't crash and burn, it only crashes. Break that loose with a 17 and torques. The pump is these two bolts here. We got the gaskets from Ford, the lifter from Ford, and the pump is from Standard. So made in Japan, so I'm not scared. The only thing I am scared of is this isn't facing the same way. We'll get the old one out. The wiring harness has plenty of length to it and it's kind of taped onto itself, so hopefully it won't matter. We'll get the old one out and compare and make sure that they're the same. The big problem I'm wondering is with this and this, it might not be the right pump. Carry on. Ooh, it smells like gas in here. I gotta check and see if that fuel line's dripping. Sometimes they'll drip. Although it's pretty cool out, sometimes there's pressure in the tank and it'll force it to keep feeding fuel. Strange. I don't see it dripping out here, but man, there's a lot of gas everywhere. And you get the follower out of here and take a look at the cam, make sure the cam lub's okay. But I don't suspect there'll be a problem with it, because if you saw the video last week, the fuel pressure was jumping around from like 160 to 360 and it's supposed to be 775. If the cam lobe is wiped out, it would just be consistently low pressure. That's my experience. No visible damage on it. This is the only concern, the angle of that. No visible damage, that's good. We're going to change it. That's why we got it. I am going to put a little bit of engine assembly lube on it, since it's a new part. You don't need a lot of this stuff. I put that on there, we'll let it sit. A little notch, this keeps it from turning, because you got to have that aligned with the cam, right? Boom. Well, the connector's different, so even if it was facing the right way, it wouldn't plug in. The ears on the outside and the pins inside are different, so that's the wrong part. I think it took us a couple days to get it, so Now I got a big truck halfway in my bay with the wrong part. What are you gonna do? It was probably expensive from Ford, I'm guessing. We'll see. Alright, I got a little rag stuffed in there as a protector. I also had this this fuse here, I believe it's 23. Although I mentioned the other day, Ford doesn't label the lid, and now they even took away the numbers, so you don't know the number locations. But as in the owner's manual, figured it out. Took that fuse out in case we had to turn the key on to move it, which we did last night. So now I'm just going to fix it out in the parking lot. This has got to go underneath those little catches. One of them's broken. That's alright, what are you going to do? Let's get this in. And it's a couple of Torx. A couple of Torx bolts in that. Couple of fuel lines, electrical connector, and then we got a cover that has 2/8 holding it down. If you didn't see where I took it off, I'm going to get this together really quick. We're going to fire it up. We'll put the scan tool on it, and we'll check the fuel pressures. Remember last time, if you saw the video, I was asking for 775 psi, and it was fluctuating between 160 and 380 or so. So put a pump on it. Once we're done, we'll confirm our data. Definitely want to bring this down a little at a time, a turn, a turn, a turn, a turn, a turn, so you're only dropping the pump 60-80 thousandths on each side at a time, so it goes down nice and straight. Fuel lines, this one just push on, push this white clip down to lock it in place, and then we got to tighten this one, and once we do, then we'll put the main line on the fuel rail. Good and tight, and this latches and locks. So basically you click it on, you lock it, and then you lock the lock. They really don't want that coming off, and I don't blame them. So what this does is, it looks like this has two sets of injectors. This is the low pressure rail, and fuel goes through to those injectors, comes back to the pump, and then the pump takes that pressure and steps it up to the metal line. It goes to the direct injectors underneath the manifold. I think the only reason they want you taking the manifold off is they don't want you reusing that fuel line. But you can say it till you're blue in the face. It doesn't change how it's going to be done. Honestly, I haven't had where I had to replace the fuel line. They don't want you reusing it because it's a high pressure fitting. But my question is, why don't you replace all the lines when you do brakes? Like if you change a brake hose or a wheel cylinder, that's a high pressure line that you're loosening and tightening back up. But I think they do it as a precaution, kind of like the way they tell you to use new bolts because they have thread lock on them. You could just apply some thread lock, right? So I don't know, you guys, some of you guys might agree, some of you guys might not. You tell me in the comments. Someone said, I think it was John, he said, you said the comments are on fire. I don't even go in there and read everyone else's comments. I need to get in there. I said, mix it up. YouTube loves the comments and the feedback and interaction, they call it. Even if you go in there to tell me how dumb I am, you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't be a mechanic. I've had people say that too, which is funny. Let's get the keys, start this up. We'll drive it up to the shop and put the scanner on it, see what the data looks like. Cycle the key a couple times to build up the low end fuel pressure. Already seems to run better, honestly, but we got to verify the data. If I see desired and actual fuel pressure in line, everyone will be happy. All right, got the DS300 on here. I'm editing the video this week. Oop, there's updates. I'm gonna do them afterwards. We're editing the video on this tool. I'm gonna have a standalone video just about this tool. If anyone's interested, there'll be links, of course, and all that. But I'm really impressed with it, honestly. It's going to be in my top 2 Top Don, I sent them my serial number. We'll see if they give me an update for the Phoenix Lite 2, which I also like a lot. It has a kickstand and all the cool stuff they need. Let's automatically search. I could look in my history files too and pull up the vehicle from last time I looked at it, but that's all right. I'm not sure if it's because it's a 2020. It's got this download thing where it's gaining access and doing something where they can talk to each other. It's almost like a temporary app type of thing they're forcing it to do. I think they just do that because in the future they plan to have some control, kind of like Chrysler does probably. That's the only way I can think of you can make Ford better is by making mechanics pay to work on them. They constantly have to find ways to make more money, whether it's affecting their employees to make more money, affecting their suppliers to make more money, affecting their customers and consumers that buy the product to make more money, or going after the mechanics to make more money. They're always, you know, just in the 80s, I think, and this is a lot of while this is working, I apologize if you don't want to hear it, go ahead a minute or two. In the 80s or so is when they started to get more, basically as they started pushing more of the federal mandates, the manufacturers started becoming more about profit. They always want to make a profit, but they didn't put profit first. They put brand reputation, you know, customers' opinions of their brand, all that first, and then profit. Well, now profit's way ahead, and what the customers think long term and all that stuff doesn't seem to matter. It might not even be in the top 5 anymore, I don't think. It's hard to say. They're all worried about their pensions and their retirements and their salaries and their bonuses and the company being profitable so their share values go up, you know. And then if the company can also have a decent reputation, then they're happy. Nowadays they all seem to be struggling with the mandates. They can't keep up. There's just so much stuff being forced on them that they have to reach, I forget what it was, 35.5 miles per gallon by 2027, and they're nowhere near, because the only way you get that kind of mileage is with a 2,200 pound car or the 1.5 liter engine, probably a diesel. So the fleet has to average 35.5. If they sell a lot of trucks, then they got to sell vehicles that make that average go back up. So system selection, enough blabbing. PCM, fuel pressure, oh my goodness, it's going to download again. That's on heat, which is dumb. Heat is dumb. It's getting warm today. It's 80 degrees. Read data stream. Oh my goodness, it's going to download something else. I'm going to have to use one of my other scan tools on this or a vehicle similar to it if I have time, and see if it does this also. I've only noticed it on this vehicle. So now we're going to go fuel, air fuel learning, closed loop command, cranking fuel, injector, fuel pump percentage, fuel rail pressure desired, fuel rail pressure. Fuel rail pressure desired 775, fuel rail pressure 900. Well, that tells me I have to clear out some adaptives. When you see it, we can do a combine too, and we will bring these two up in the graph. Now, if you watched the video the other day, the fuel rail pressure is in orange, the desired is in blue. And the other day, the orange one was, it was all over the map, jumping around about 200 psi because the pump was bad. Now the pump's good. It's actually got too much fuel pressure. So little by little, it's going to be trying to pull the fuel pressure down somehow or another. There's a regulator built into that pump I just installed. That regulator is going to have to get duty cycle down. What we can do is go into our adaptive strategies. It's going to be probably in special functions. I'm going to turn the key off, back on, so the engine's off, key on. I'm going to do, and I don't want to do everything. I think I'm going to have to. Relative compression. Let me look somewhere else and see if I can find it, maybe an actuation test. Idle shutdown, oil pressure, duty cycle, evap purge, canister, fuel pump percentage. Yeah, it's not going to have anything here to let me clear that out. Well, we're going to go in and we're going to do special functions, keep alive memory. We're going to reset that. It's going to reset more things than I prefer. We'll go ahead and see if the actual and desired are closer together. Yes. Ignition on, engine off. This is essentially like taking the battery terminal off and putting it back on, but without losing all your radio memories and stuff that you might lose on some vehicles. Ensure the ignition is off. Okay. Application finished. And now I'm going to fire it back up. We're going to go data stream. See if it remembered what I picked before. That would be cool. Let's see if I just go okay. Yep, there it is. And now it's even higher. Yeah, so that's going to be a learned function. Combine these two. This is going to be a learned function. It is 775 still, and now we're at 2000 psi. So what I'm going to do is let this run a little while. We'll come back to it in a little bit and see if the actual fuel pressure has been brought down by the fuel pressure regulator. It could be possible the new pump has a bad regulator that's making it go wide open or something too, or working a much higher threshold than it would expect. So we'll see. I'm going to let it run a few minutes. Alright, we're back from a nice road test, and now it's a lot happier. Fuel pressure is actually still adjusting down just a tiny bit. That's all it took. I was a little nervous because you put a new fuel rail pump in because of low fuel pressure, and then when you see it's double what it's asking for. But basically the car was just upset I hadn't driven it yet, saying take me for a drive and we'll be okay, and that's what happened. So this one's fixed. I'm gonna go park it. Well guys, we'll close it up the shop. Shooting professional production stuff over here, man. Come on. Hot set. Thanks for watching. Torque the like button for me on your way out if you enjoyed today's video, and more than anything, I hope I see you in the next one, because you're awesome.